Every single day, we trust our lives to these massive structures. Bridges we drive over, ships that sail the oceans, buildings that just scrape the sky. But we almost never think about the invisible forces that are constantly trying to tear them all down. Or, for that matter, the dedicated people working tirelessly, usually completely out of sight, to make sure they keep standing. So today, we're going to pull back that curtain and meet these unseen guardians. So let's just jump right in with this question. I mean, it sounds a little dramatic, right? Turning to dust? But honestly, it's a very real problem. The steel that makes up the backbone of our modern world is in a constant knockdown, drag-out fight with nature itself. So what's the secret? What's the technology that keeps these incredible structures safe? Well, the bad guy in the story, the relentless force that's always working against our infrastructure, has a name: corrosion. And it's happening all around us, all the time, on a scale that's just mind-boggling. Think about it like this. We take iron ore out of the ground and pour just a ton of energy into refining it into strong, useful steel. Well, corrosion is basically the universe trying to undo all that hard work. It's nature trying to return that steel to its original, more stable state, which we all know is rust. And if you just let it happen, it doesn't just look bad. It actually compromises the strength, the very integrity of the structure. It's a huge deal. Okay, so if corrosion is the attack, what's our defense? How do we protect our most critical, most expensive assets? Well, we build a shield. A really sophisticated, meticulously applied shield. This right here is our first, and honestly, our most important line of defense. The whole idea is to create this impenetrable barrier between the steel that's vulnerable and the stuff that wants to attack it, like oxygen and water. You can really think of it as a suit of high-tech armor, custom-fitted for everything from the hull of a ship to the beams of a skyscraper. Now check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. It's kind of a paradox. See, the type of steel we use for our biggest projects, mild steel, is chosen because it's flexible, it's easy to weld, it's perfect for building something gigantic. But that lower carbon content also makes it way more likely to corrode. The other stuff, high carbon steel, is tougher against rust, but it's too brittle for a bridge that needs to flex. So the very material we have to use is the one that needs that protective shield the most. Right. But a shield is only as good as the person who makes it, yeah? If that armor has even one tiny, microscopic flaw, the enemy gets in and the whole thing is compromised. And that's where our hero comes into the story, the Surface Treatment Inspector. This is the official definition from Frozio, which is the leading authority in this whole field. And I just love how simple and powerful it is. An inspector's job is to be the ultimate authority on quality. They are there to make sure every single step of applying that protective shield is done exactly right according to a very precise rule book. No shortcuts, no good enough, no compromises, period. So here's the thing. This job is not just about technical knowledge. A truly great inspector has to be a master of communication, of diplomacy even. You have to be calm but firm. You have to navigate these huge, complex projects with contractors and owners and suppliers, all with different motivations. You're not just there to point out what's wrong, you're there to help find solutions and make sure everybody gets a quality result in the end. And what this shows us is that inspectors can wear a lot of different hats. They might be working for the contractor, doing quality control on their own team. Or they could be the client's representative, making sure they get what they paid for. They might even be a totally neutral third-party expert brought in to settle a dispute. But here's the key: no matter who signs their paycheck, their ultimate loyalty is to one thing: the specification, to quality. So who sets the rules for these critical guardians? How do we know that an inspector really, really knows their stuff? Well, that's where an organization called Frozio comes in. You can basically think of it as the elite training academy for this entire profession. So Frozio actually got its start way back in 1986, born out of Norway's really demanding industrial sector. They realized they needed a standardized, super high-level system for qualifying inspectors. And what began in Norway has pretty much become the global gold standard for excellence in this field. Their whole mission, their entire reason for being, is to raise the bar for everyone. By creating this transparent and incredibly tough certification program, they make sure that a Frozio-certified inspector, whether they're in Singapore or San Francisco, meets the exact same high standard of competence. It's gotten so respected that a lot of international contracts now specifically demand it. And this isn't just some private club making up its own rules. Frozio itself
is audited and accredited to an international ISO standard. What that means is their whole process for certifying people is recognized all over the world as being fair, impartial, and robust. It's basically the ultimate stamp of approval that says, yeah, these guys are the real deal.
So what does it actually take to earn one of those Frasios certificates? Let me tell you, it is not a weekend course. It's a gauntlet. It's designed to test everything: your knowledge, your practical skills, and your real-world experience. Let's break down what that path actually looks like. The whole journey starts right here: 80 hours. Before you can even think about taking the exam, you have to go through an intensive 80-hour training course. That's 2 full weeks of being totally immersed in the science and practice of this stuff. And that's just to get your foot in the door. After that course, the real tests begin. First up, a 4-hour written exam to prove you know the theory inside and out. Then another 4-hour practical exam where you have to physically show you can use all the tools and techniques correctly. And even if you pass both of those, you're still not done. You then have to provide documented proof of your actual experience out in the field. Now, Frosio has this really cool 3-level system, and each level has its own color. When you first pass the exams, you get the level 1 or the white certificate. To level up to the green level 2 certificate, you've got to prove you have at least 2 years of relevant experience. And to get to the very top, the red level 3 certificate, you need a minimum of 5 years of relevant work, with at least 2 of those years spent specifically doing inspections. It's a system that truly values and rewards that hands-on expertise. So the next time you're driving across a bridge, or you see one of those massive container ships, just remember that unseen battle being fought against corrosion. And remember the unseen guardians, those Frosio certified inspectors, whose knowledge, whose diligence, and whose total commitment to these incredibly high standards are the reason we're winning that battle every single day. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Our world is just full of these hidden experts, people like air traffic controllers or the engineers who make sure our water is safe to drink. So who are the other unseen guardians whose quiet, steady competence you rely on, maybe without even knowing they exist?